Hey, how you doing? This is Tony Hammond. Once again, this is the Professor RCM. Welcome back to my channel. I know I'm away briefly taking care of some things, but I promise you I'm going to be here for the long haul. But I'm going to try to recap some of the things that I talked about before in regards to the revenue cycle. And when I'm referring to that revenue cycle, is I said in my past videos that it's a life cycle. It's looking at where it starts and where it's supposed to end. And the last time I actually was with you, I will begin to talk about those components that make up the RCM life cycle. And as you can see here on the slides, you have your pre-registration and registration. That was the last time I talked about that. This current life cycle components was just this particular one, the pre-registration, the registration. Because what happens is a lot of the pre-registration takes place now online, where you can kind of go in and pre-register, and then once that individual comes in the office, then we talk about the registration piece, and we're now talking about I like to say that one of the most important pieces, because that's when you begin to talk about the insurance and getting the insurance information. But here, as you can see here, is I got it now in its particular places and what codes first and second and third and so forth and so on. And within this episode, I'm gonna just kind of lean in more on the charge capture piece of it, and then some things that come after the charge capture piece, which is the claim submission. So let's take a look at the registration piece again, because I think when you're talking about the pre-registration and registration piece, it is getting it right the first time. Getting that patient's name right, getting that insurance information right, getting that subscriber ID, getting that group number, getting the subscriber information, because it may be a spouse or a child, that is having services done that day. So we want to make sure that when we put it down and capture this, going to charge capture just a little piece of it. We want to make sure that we know that this is the subscriber of that policy, and this is the patient that is being seen that particular day. So when you think about the charge capture piece of it, is recording the services provided and assigning appropriate medical codes. In time past, kind of dating myself a little bit, but we used to call that charge entry. And so what happens is that when the patient is being seen by a particular physician, what happens is that once you are seen by that physician and you get all and on the latter part, what I'm trying to explain is that, like, when they come in to see the doctor, first they come in, they're going to check in and get registration, and then they go back there to see the doctor. And now it comes time when you now have to code it, and we're going to talk about that piece over here later on as well. But now you're going to have to give them that CPT code. You're talking about the ICD-9 code. I'm sorry, ICD-10. So kind of date myself again. And you're talking about whether a modifier is going to be appended. And some of this stuff may be foreign now, but in the coming episodes, I'm going to talk about the modifier. I'm going to talk about CPT codes. I'm going to talk about, there's certain different things within that takes place, when that claim is submitted. And so here, what you're looking at now is what we call a HICFA, and it's also referred to as a 1500. And this is what we use for the professional side of billing. And then on the hospital or institutional side, we use what we call the UB4. And we're not going to really dive into the UB4 at all, mostly because my expertise comes in more on the professional side and not the institutional side. So I want to make that clear. And so here you have the claim here, what I say, the HICFA. And I'm just kind of highlighting here just a few of the things that are in the top part, because what happens is as you look at that particular HICFA, you can see there's a line in the middle. And the reason why that line is in the middle, because everything above that line is actually just talking about the patient and their insurance information. And then when you get to the bottom part, that's when it's the physician. That's when you get the CPT code. That's when you get the taxonomy. That's when you get the subscriber ID, the tax ID number, the address, and things like that. And like I said, we're going to dive into that a little bit more in the further episodes. But if you can see here, it has a patient demographic. And I know it's small here, and you may not can see it as well. But I just want you to take a look at, here you have your patient's name is going to be in box 2. And if I could kind of highlight, I wish I could blow it up here, let you see it. But we'll come back to it. But as you can see, when you get down to a little bit further, you have your the bottom portion. You have your CPT code in box 24D. You have your diagnosis codes, and then you have your modifiers. And like I said, when talking about CPT codes, I know that you may not can see it, but like I said, we're gonna take a look at it here in the coming episodes. But that CPT code will go right here. This will be a CPT code, and then you have your number of units, and then you have your ICD 10 codes. I'm sorry, diagnosis code here. I can't even really see it, but it's going to be somewhere up in here, as well as your CPT code, your modifier, you have your number of units, and then you have your ICD-10 codes. And that's going to be very critical when in the coming episodes, because when you have that ICD-10 code here, the codes are listed here, and then what they excuse me. So the ICD-10 codes is here. They rated A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? And so when you get down to ICD-10 codes, you're not going to put the full ICD-10 code here, but that letter that is associated with the ICD-10 code will go here, which will be coming from there. But once again, we'll talk about that in coming episodes. And I just want to kind of highlight, what takes place at charge capture. And like I said, this is a real critical component of it, because this is the last step before that claim is submitted. So we want to make sure all those things are in there. And so now we get to the claim submission part of it. I'm sorry, I forgot I had this up here. But here is a HCFA that is filled out. Once again, it's kind of small, but this is how the HCFA looks when it's filled out. So you have the insurance company here. You have your patient information here, their address, and then on this side you also have their insurance as well. And also, if they have a secondary insurance, that information will go down here as well. And here you have the patient that is seen that particular day. And if the subscriber, if the patient wasn't a subscriber, that subscriber name will be in this area. And then once you go down here, this, as I was trying to explain to you with the ICD-10 codes, you can see that they're here. And then you have your dates of services. And then you have your what you refer to as a place of service code. Like 11 would be an office, or 21 inpatient, 22 outpatient. And so that will go here. Then you have your CPT code. And then if there's a modifier, your modifier will be here. And then that ICD-10 code that is associated with this CPT code and supposedly build with that CPT code, it will be right here. And then once again, you have your federal tax ID number. This is right here. We're going to talk about here just a little bit. This is where you will have your, what we refer to when we did it, at the business office I was at, that will be your invoice number that is associated with us. That's how, when they come back to us, that's how we'll be able to see it based on the invoice number. And then you have your total charges amount, and then here as well. And then you have down here box 33, which is a famous box, because this is where you're going to get your NPI, and as well as the billing address. And then this is your physical address here. But once again, we're going to talk about those in the later episodes. But once again, I thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you come back. Thank you.